Well, for those who think the last has been had on the crisis rocking the Lagos State House of Assembly, it is definitely a no-no. For those who believe that the ripples caused by that crisis has been completely tackled with the visit of the lawmakers, including the reinstated Speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, to President Bola Tinubu in Abuja this week. Well, we can tell you, especially from feelers, for those who have been following this development and who are actively involved, that it is far from being over. Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Dotun Oladipo. I am your regular host, Dotun Oladipo. I am the managing editor of The Eagle Online, which operates at www.theeagleonline.com.ng. And don't forget that we do this in partnership with The Eagle Online Nigeria, one of the fastest growing YouTube channels, not just in Nigeria, but worldwide. So, as we dive into this edition, the question I've asked is, where are we? And as a follow-up, where are we going to be in 2027? So, let's look at the highlights of the whole crisis, its outcome, and then we go into the details and we come back to this highlight to look at what to expect. Now, as we speak, in Lagos State, there is a divided assembly and a divided party. That is the All Progressive Congress, which is in control of the state and the assembly. So also, do we have a division in the highest advisory body in the state, that is the Governance Advisory Council, which advises the president and the party in the state on what to do. While we have seen the division within the party, some have asked how many factions, using that word loosely, of APC do we have in Lagos? Some have said 3, some have said 4. We'll come back to categorize all of them. Another factor which we are going to come back to is this distrust within the camps of every stakeholder involved in this crisis. The assembly itself, the Governance Advisory Council, the governor of the states, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and security agencies, among others. And then, for those elders who have intervened in the crisis, both from within and outside the states, this feeling of frustration and betrayal. So, how did you get to where we are now? We all know the background to what happened pre and on and post January 13, 2025, when Mudashiru Obasa was removed by 36 lawmakers from office. Though Obasa was not on seat when that impeachment happened, but he was removed all the same. When the crisis that attended that removal reached its peak, we all recollect, as we sometimes said on this program, that some Lagosians, high-ranking ones at that, who saw that they had lost control of that assembly, quickly mobilized some party elders from outside the state. Top of that list, we have a former national, in fact, the first and interim national chairman of the APC, who was also a one-time governor of Osun State, Chief Bisi Akande. Then we have a veteran journalist and former governor of Ogun State and leader of the party, Aremo Olusegun Oshoba. These two, that is Chiefs Akande and Oshoba, worked with some other Lagosians to talk with the lawmakers when they saw that the president, who is the leader of the party at the federal level, and also in the state, being the highest ranking elected official of the party, was no longer paying attention to the assembly. When this happened, and this came after several attempts by Obasa, who had then been impeached, to have access to the president, what Lagosians would call rough fight ensued, with Obasa invading the assembly and causing a lot of disruption, and several news items, including the allegation that arms were found in the office of the chief security officer to Obasa within the premises of the assembly, started making the rounds. And then several factors started setting in, including the political weight of those involved in the crisis. Top on what Obasa used in reaching the president was what some people termed the mandate factor. What is mandate? The mandate is a group that was established several years back to propagate the political ambition of the president from as far as when he was the governor of Lagos State. So, how did this work for Obasa? Many are in the know that Obasa ate the mandate group. And with that, he has a lot of political influence, especially in his constituency, which is Agege. And as many know, after Alimosho and one or two other constituencies, Agege ranks very high in terms of voter turnout and voting itself. However, like some people told us, which we also shared in the last edition on this very issue, President Tinubu was not against the removal of Obasa as Speaker. Rather, what he was against was the process of the removal. He said they never consulted him on when they were going to remove him, and did not consult him also on his replacement. When again the assembly took the step to install Mojisola Meranda as Speaker, President Tinubu was said to have frowned against this because at that point, both the Speaker and the Governor were now from the same senatorial district, that is Lagos Central. And when their elders, like we said earlier on, intervened, several agreements were reached. And we'll be quoting some of those who were part of that process in reaching the agreement. When the elders intervened, the agreement was to install Obasa temporarily as the Speaker. And as we reported both in our publication, The Eagle Online, and on The Eagle Online Nigeria, the YouTube channel, Obasa was to take hold of the assembly just for a few hours after Miranda would have resigned and reverted to her position as Deputy Speaker and Obasa as Speaker. He was also expected to resign immediately and for another election to be conducted. Indeed, according to our sources, as we reported, and up to this week, we were told that both Miranda and Obasa had written their letters of resignation and handed over to a top official of the government and a strong member of the APC. While the letter of Miranda was leaked, as she confirmed during her resignation, that of Obasa was not leaked, and which some people said gave him the edge and audacity, quote and unquote now, to insist that he was not going to resign, but hold on to the reins of power. Miranda herself confirmed the leakage of her own letter, and the fact that that was not the only letter that was written in terms of resignation by members of that assembly. So when Obasa refused to step down, this angered the lawmakers the more, because the expectation was that when he resigns, another person from Lagos West Senatorial District, with 8 first penciled down and then narrowed down to 2, would take over from him. Till now, the person holding on to Obasa's letter is yet to release it. And that was up until all the lawmakers met with President Tinubu this week in Abuja. And that again changed the configuration of what should be in the House of Assembly. Indeed, after he was allowed to return as Speaker, a lot of those he's dealing with in the House, that is his co-lawmakers, have said the things that Obasa did that made them to impeach him, he has not stopped doing them. They described him as carrying on as an emperor. They said during their meeting, which he called, he did not even apologize to them. Rather, what he did was to demand the reinstatement of the clerk who was removed alongside himself on January 13, 2025. Indeed, the lawmakers also complained that Obasa showed up for that meeting he called at 2:30 p.m., whereas he fixed 1 p.m. for that meeting, and they were waiting for him. And that when he came, he did not even apologize for coming late. So, we now go back to the opening question. Where are we? And where are we going to be in 2027? First, let's start from the bottom, the issues we highlighted. For those elders who intervened, especially those from outside the state, there is this feeling of frustration and betrayal. According to a former national legal advisor of the APC, who was also involved in that negotiation with the lawmakers, Muiz Banire, a senior advocate of Nigeria, the decision to involve Chiefs Bisi Akande and Oshoba was primarily because of the distrust that existed between the lawmakers and the top echelon of the APC in Lagos State. He said this was done without the knowledge of the president, and that the two men never at any point consulted with the president on what to do. However, they only stepped in their capacity as elders and leaders of the party. But now, according to Chief Banire, both of them feel frustrated and betrayed because the agreements reached, which included the need for Obasa to resign, was not implemented. And their belief is that those lawmakers who feel shortchanged will never believe them or trust them again. So, in two articles back to back in The Sun, Banire went over the issues, and according to him, these two elders never compromised the interest of Lagosians, as some have said. And the fact that they were betrayed along the line without Obasa resigning or first withdrawing his case from court was a major minus for them. Let me just take the last article, which came out on Wednesday, March 13. So, in a paragraph there, Chief Banire said, the implementation of the arrangement was to be triggered with the withdrawal of the suit filed by Mudashiru Obasa. As at the point of departure, both parties, that is the fielding assembly members and Obasa, had tendered their resignation letters to different personalities, just like we said in the last edition, which for security reasons he won't mention. So, let me jump and go down that article. He said, far from it, I say, it is indeed the decision of the members of the House, definitely after their wills, I presumed, must have been sapped, and possibly the GAC, which is Governor's Accuracy Council, the latter of which the correct version, which I cannot confirm. I was part of that process, and I'm here speaking categorically as to the correct version of the state of affairs. Thus, there is no misrepresentation of facts in this, and whichever source a contrary opinion emanates from cannot be true. I challenge such to openly come out to deny my position. Furthermore, I never said that Miranda was asked to resign while Obasa was to be reinstated. This is a clear misquote of my position, for which I shelve any demand for apology. This goes also to confirm that both of them, as we reported much more earlier, were expected to resign. He said again that the insistence on continuing that, so that's instead of Obasa, despite the re-election, mark of discomfort and suggests volumes. It is a pregnant act. Just as I was about reacting to this agenda, the social media was agog with stories of confirmed judicial victory targeted at neutralizing his initial removal and erasing the history of Miranda ever being the speaker, which he still wants to achieve. The truth or otherwise of this, I cannot confirm, but suffice to say that he now went into Yoruba language. Ẹni ayé ń jẹ kó rọra nítorí pé ilẹ̀ ń yọ̀. That is, if the world is favoring you now, be very careful because the ground is slippery. And then he said because it is sub judice, he won't comment on it. But on that point, we can now see a trend of what will likely happen in that assembly, with the 4 major men involved in the resolution of the crisis not being happy with those in the assembly. What some have suggested, and which may likely happen, is that most members of that assembly will not return in 2027. Simply because they failed, like the party has said, and like sources have also told us, to bend to the wishes of the party. At that point, they took the decision. Then also is this issue of distrust, like we reported. Some people, at some point, like we said earlier, wanted or created the impression that Governor Sanwo-Olu triggered the impeachment of Obasa. But like we also said in our past edition, the governor was in the State Executive Council meeting when that impeachment process began, and he hurriedly left to also go and follow it on the television and see the drama playing out. In fact, some went up to the point of saying that the governor provided 30 million to each of the legislators to impeach Obasa. This has created a distrust between the governor and the president on one hand, and between the governor and some party members who feel that his loyalty should be solely to the president, and these things should have been discussed with the president. But we eventually saw the flip side when security agencies stepped in, and it was discovered that the additional security provided in the assembly was done by the former commissioner of police in the state and not triggered by the governor. But all the same, this has created a distrust within the ruling party in the state. And then the lawmakers. Don't forget there were 36 of them on one side, with 4 on the other side, Obasa being one of them. Now, the assembly has remained true up to date, as we speak, despite the intervention of the president. Some people said this showed in their visit to the presidential villa for the meeting with the president. While the 36 lawmakers went in the same bus, 2 of them anyway, Obasa never did. He came alone. When they were leaving the villa, it was the same process. He never identified with them, which a lot of people are complaining about. They are accusing him of being arrogant and not being a leader but a ruler. This has polarized the assembly. And what people are saying is this has a lot of implication for the party in 2027. And then Obasa himself. Some people say he has the war chest to fight any battle, especially in his area of influence, which is in Agege constituency. He goes far beyond that in terms of influence. But a lot of people believe he can run his own show alone, even without the president. That's what they believe. So it pitches him on another side. And then we have all of those in other camps who are loyal to the president, making the camps 3 in Lagos. So as we bring this home, it then means that for 2027, once this crisis is not fully resolved, it's not about resolution on paper or by words of mouth, but from the heart. It means the party in Lagos will be going into that election divided. Because even the president, despite endorsing that Obasa should remain as speaker, has said any further infraction, anyone at all, according to our sources, will lead to his final removal. And So Obasa is also sitting very uncomfortably. And he has added another angle to his face-off with the lawyer, with the other lawmakers. He's probing the expenditure of the assembly during the 49-day stay of Mojisola Meranda as speaker. Some people said he used this influence to forcefully get all the documents from the bank instead of asking for it through the normal channel, and has used that to file a case against Meranda for alleged embezzlement. So it is obvious to a lot of people that this matter will not die down soon and will not die down before the 2027 election. So the APC, as they have said, is going to go into that election as a divided house in 2027. And some are even now saying this has been confirmed further by the reabsorption of Babajide Adeniran, doctor, the one they popularly called Jandor, into the APC. We were told he was in the presidential villa a day before this recording, where he met with President Bola Tinubu. Don't forget that Jandor was a governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last election. And some are beginning to see him as the trump, the ace card that the president will use in case any other one fails. So that is where the party is now. And that is where we are going to sign off on this edition of this program. Three angles. The president, on the one side, standing with some members of the GAC and the governor and some other leaders of the party. Obasa and his team standing, and then the lawmakers on one side, because they are not sure if they will need to confront the leadership when they are not given a return ticket. It's still that easy. And like they say in politics, 24 hours is a very, very long time for movements and for re-strategizing and permutation. I will say, as we look forward to the exciting developments and happenings, which will bring you on this channel, don't forget that you need to like this edition, share it for us, and then subscribe to our channel so that we can bring you much more. And for every one of us to also be happy. As you watch, we also want to see the likes, the clicks, the subscription, and those are the things that make us happy at this end. Until I see you in the next edition, my name remains Dr. Oladipo. I am the publisher of the Eagle Online, and I say, catch you sometime soon.